What's up, guys? Winter backpacking can definitely be a blast. However, it can come with its own difficulties. If you are unprepared, it can be dangerous and downright miserable. There are some key pieces of gear that I think everyone needs to take on their winter backpacking trips, and a good winter stove is no different. I use 3 different stoves depending on the situation that I'm in, and in this video, I'm going to go over each one of those, the pros and the cons of each one, and hopefully it will help you be able to choose a stove for your needs. So let's get to it. So this little gas stove here is a canister stove. It's made by Soto. It's the Wind Master. Of the 3 stoves, I would say this is probably my go-to stove for backpacking in general and winter backpacking. This one does have a little regulator on it right here. It's got a piezo igniter and it just connects to a canister of fuel. Winter camping does use a little bit more fuel, so I'll sometimes take a larger canister. I'll normally take a smaller canister when I'm out backpacking in like summer, spring, fall, but for winter, I often take a larger canister. And like this, it depends on how long I'm going to be out there, how much I'm going to be cooking, and that kind of thing. But this type of stove can use a little more fuel, especially if it's really cold outside, because the canister will get really cold and the fuel isn't as efficient. The pros of this is it's super simple. You screw it onto the canister, you press the piezo igniter. If you don't have a piezo on your type of canister stove, then you just use a lighter to light it. And then you set the thing on top, adjust the flame level, and you're set. They're pretty lightweight for the most part, and so that's another pro, and they don't take up a ton of space. So if you're out there in the winter, this is a very good stove to use, and like I said, it is my go-to. And of course, it depends on the situation I'm in, what stove I use, but this one's awesome. The MSR Pocket Rocket is also another nice one. There are plenty of other canister type stoves out there, but for winter, I really like the regulator on it because that helps to make it more efficient in cold weather. And so that's just something to consider as well. The cons of this are, like I mentioned, it can use more fuel, and being that it's a canister stove, it is not as efficient because the fuel gets cold and it starts to, I don't know what it does, but the composition inside the can, the pressure inside the can gets kind of messed up because of the cold. You can compensate a little bit with the regulator here, keeping it warm if you sleep at night, or even just kind of keep it inside something so it stays a little warmer until you go to cook. There are other stoves out there that will invert this can, and that will help with efficiency as well. A similar type canister stove, but it will invert the can. So just something to think about. So this stove here is really nice. It's super lightweight. I think it weighs like 0.7 ounces or something like that. This one's by Tokes. It's an alcohol stove. There are a lot of different alcohol stoves out there. Some are more efficient than others. This is the one that I've tried and used for a little while, and it's done its job. It's really lightweight. It warms up water. It is a lot slower than a canister stove, but definitely something that works. You do have to carry around the fuel with you as well, same as a canister stove, and just this liquid fuel. I just use heat, and you can pick that up at most any store, like gas stations, Smith's, or grocery stores, I should say, if you don't have a Smith's in your area. But whatever, there are a lot of different Home Depot places that sell heat, and so that's just a fuel source that I use. And so there are a bunch of different fuel sources you can use for an alcohol stove, though. The pros are that they are lightweight. They pack up small. You don't have to worry about the canister getting messed up. With canister stoves, when they get cold, they can be less efficient. This, you light it, you pour it in the thing, and you light it. So this little thing, this one again is by Tokes. You pour the fuel into it, you light it with a lighter, and it burns until it runs out. You can put a top on and it'll smother it, and then you can pour the fuel back into the bottle. One thing with these is you do have to use a windscreen with them. You can use, some people use just a piece of aluminum foil. This one is by Tokes as well. I just purchased it with this little stove, and this little windscreen's been nice. I think this weighs, I forget how much it weighs, but I'll put it on the screen. It's got these little things inside of it that you can set your pot on, and it holds it off of the fire. And so you just put that over it, and then yeah, just let your water or meal warm up. This is the little stove right here, and it's just really simple. A lot of people make these out of like a cat food can. You can make them out of tin cans, like a soda can, but this one's nice. It's durable. It's not gonna smash really easy, but yeah. So pros of these: lightweight, very versatile. They work in all weather usually. Cons are you do have to carry the fuel with you again, and you have to, they are slower as far as heating food, boiling water. They do take a little bit longer. So just things to consider as you are you know, considering a backpacking stove for winter or just in general. This stove here is a titanium stove by Danchel Outdoors. It's a hot tent stove, and it's been pretty nice. It only weighs about 4.9 pounds, which is heavier for a backpacking stove, but getting out in the winter, I'm usually carrying a lot more gear anyway. It provides warmth. That's one of the pros for it. It also provides a little bit more comfort, and then it also doubles as a stove. So once I get this thing going, I'll be able to put a pan on top and cook whatever I'm wanting to cook on there and warm up water, whatever it is. So one of the cons to this is that it is less compact than a a canister stove or an alcohol stove or other type of stove. It does also require, one of the pros or cons is that it also requires wood. So if you are in an area that doesn't have any dry wood or anything, there are ways you can get a fire started with wet wood and stuff, but it's more tricky. So getting something like this is definitely one thing that you want to know how to do that if you're going into an area with that's wet. And so but it's been awesome. I love it, going out there and lighting this thing. Gives you something to do while you're out there and being able to enjoy the fire and enjoy the warmth. And another con I would say is that if you don't want to cook inside where you're going to be camping, then that's, which I understand for animals and other things, smelling the food right by where you're camping. But if that's a concern for you, then this may not be an option, or you set it up somewhere else in a hot tent tarp area, and then you camp somewhere else. I do that a lot. Like, I'll sleep in my hammock, and then I'll set this up in another spot where I'm going to chill for the night before I go to bed, and then I go to bed over in the hammock. And so it's been nice. So some different options. So let's get this thing started. So one thing that's nice when you're lighting these, if you're in a wet spot, is to carry something like some tinder, something like that with you that will light easy and will definitely be, get your some small pieces of wood dried out at least, so you can get more wood in there. So I just carry this with me, just get it started. Oop. And then once that's going pretty good, then you can start getting some other littler pieces of wood in there, and then just keep building. Then you do want to make sure your flue is open. It's got an adjuster here to adjust the flow on the flue. And we're going to have some good heat here in no time. This little stove doesn't put out a ton of heat, especially it being titanium and whatnot, but it is a trade-off for having a super lightweight stove that fits in a pack that doesn't weigh a ton compared to other hot tent stoves. And so this one's definitely a pretty awesome option for if you want to get into hot tent stove or hot tent camping and get out there and enjoy winter camping. If this is a setting or an environment or something that you would like to try. So definitely, this thing's not cheap though. You can get cheaper ones. I think this was like $300 and something when I bought it. There are different versions you can get for about $200, but just something to consider if you want a good lightweight stove for backpacking that folds up and is going to be something that you can actually carry in your backpack. Well, my steak's done and I'm gonna start eating. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you use a different type of stove for winter camping or have any tips or tricks, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Let's enjoy. Well, I'm gonna enjoy.